Hey, it's Dan Kenneth Plain Talk. And the funny thing about it is that I'm sitting here talking and thinking I'm recording, and I looked up and said, oh God, I haven't even pushed the record button. But I think it's because the enemy doesn't really want me to talk about this subject. And it's a very important subject to me because with all of the problems that are going on today, with all of these young people being killed, running around in the streets, the shootings, the killing, even in my city, all of these gun murders and people being in somewhere and in the middle of someone's gun battle, being shot down. Sometimes I wonder, where are the parents? Where are the parents? When God blesses you with children, because the Bible declares that they are a blessing, and you are nowhere to take care of those children, why are you having them? Why are you having them? Whether you had them and you planned it or you didn't, they are a responsibility. Well, you say, well, Dan, what does this have to do with the gospel? What does this have to do with anything? It has to do with raising up a child. And the Bible said if you raise up a child right, and I'm paraphrasing, when they're older, they won't depart from it. It didn't say they wouldn't make mistakes because, trust me, as a young person, you're going to be inquisitive about things and you might get into the wrong things, but the foundation is really what matters. And it surprises me because when I was young, I used to think that every young child knew about God. And as I looked and saw, I found out that they did not. And I consider it a blessing to be brought up knowing about God. My grandmother, I speak about my grandmother a lot, but my grandmother was a woman, and I lived with her at a very early age, that made sure she built a foundation that we would know who God is. And those all-day church services on Sunday and church during the week and those prayer services and those 6 o'clock prayer meetings that I had to get up. Sometimes they were at her home. Just come on down with your pajamas on and pray for a while. You can go back to sleep. They were a blessing. And although I'm not saying I was an angel, I'm not saying all of that, because there were things that I got into or made mistakes about, but the foundation was already there. And so God protected me. Now, you may not have known about God when you first came up. And wherever in your journey you found out about Jesus, that's wonderful. But if you have children, you should be an authoritative figure in their life. They should be able to come to you and tell you how they feel, and you should be able to listen. You should know where your child is. What is your child doing out at 3 o'clock in the morning and you don't know? Why is there an arsenal of weapons in your child's room and you don't know? So when he goes out to school and kill a bunch of people, you want everybody to cry for you. Why don't you know it? Why don't you know? Why don't you know who your child is hanging around with? Why don't you know? Could it be that you're out partying? Could it be that you're not mature enough to stay home after you have a child and raise it? Because once you have it, honey, party days are over. You have another child, another human being in your hands. Yes, you do. You know, it's so very important to build a foundation for a young child because, see, when I was coming up, there was things going on. But now, there's more temptations. There's more ways to want to be in the in crowd. And the one thing the devil has for you, he'll snuff you out. When I look into the obituary, the ages are 20 and 21 and 22 and 30s. You haven't even lived half your life because the devil is cutting you off, destroying you. Where are the parents? Why are there so many nomadic kids? You don't have a place to live. You're over here one night and you're over there one night. Where are your parents? Some of you don't need to have kids because you don't know how to be a parent. And you're going to answer for it. You're going to give an account of it. I look around and I see all of these things that are going on. And I'm wondering, where are the parents? Where are the parents? I was going to work years ago and I was at a bus stop and this woman had a little boy and he looked to be about 5 or 6. And he wasn't standing still and she called him all sorts of filthy names. And there was an older man there and he said, "Ma'am, why are you calling a child those names?" And she told the man to mind his business. But you've named your child. You've named your child. You've set a foundation for your child. And that child has to grow up with some of the vile things that you call him. Your arguments at home. Not being able to trust you, to come to you and tell you anything. I've lived some of that. I've seen some of it. And when your children grow up and they don't want to have anything to do with you, you have a selective memory about how you treated them when they were coming up. Because you were for yourself. Selfish. And now you've gotten old and you still can't apologize for some of the things you've done. God has given you children. And you don't know how to raise that child. People, we need to understand. We need to build a foundation. Somebody said, well, Dan, preachers' kids are the worst. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about who's the worst. I'm talking about a foundation. Because if you're a preacher's kid and they bring you up to know God, then they've built a foundation. Now the rest is up to you. But you have a responsibility to bring up a child in the way it should go. And you're going to answer for it. Then you're crying and you're hollering and you're screaming when your child is dead in the street. But you weren't considering anything before he got there. You weren't considering it one bit. What you do and what you say. You're molding a life. You're molding a life. And you know, there's a lot of problems and there's a lot of things that young people go through in puberty. They can't tell you because you won't listen. You won't take the time to listen. Therefore, they do what they want to do. And they hang around people who would accept them. Because the one that brought them in this world can't listen, can't understand, can't pray for that child. Because they don't have a foundation themselves. And I've seen a lot of people that consider themselves parents. Their parents didn't do anything. One thing God commanded the children of Israel. You see the works that I do? You see what I've done for you? Pass it on. Pass it on to the next generation. Pass it on to the next generation. Pass it on to the next generation. But this generation has nothing to pass on. You have nothing to pass on. Nothing godly to pass on. You're doing drugs with your kids. You're cursing with your kids. You're showing disrespect to the teacher when your child can't do the right things and your teacher calls you. You go to school and you want to beat up and curse up the teacher in front of your child, and then you expect your child to respect authority. Look at you. Look at you. So I was thinking, and I was like, God, from seeing things, and I'm not judging people. I don't want to blame people for things because no one deserves to be murdered. No one deserves to be killed. But why don't you know that your child's out at 3 o'clock in the morning running around? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you when your 13-year-old child is talking to a 30-some-year-old man and out having sex with him? Where are you? Where are you when your child is walking around the streets half naked and you didn't check them at the door? Where are you? Then you're angry when they come home with a basketball belly. Where are you? Where are you? I heard a story, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to just be raw about it, of a child in a classroom, and the teacher asked him what his name, and he said, son of a bitch. And she said, that's not your name. Yes, it is. It's son of a bitch. That's what my mother calls me. And that's my name. People, we need to get it together. We need to get it together. When it comes to raising kids. Well, Dan, you haven't had any kids. I haven't, but I've raised some. I've raised some grown kids who had issues and problems. And I had to dig underneath those issues and try to dig out all of the hurts and pains, letting someone know about God. Redo the damage that was done by their own parents. Try to pray and ask God to renew their minds. Because some of these people call themselves parents didn't do the work. Anytime you can take your child to a bar while you drink and not know that your child is being sexually molested, and then see your child grow up as an alcoholic, and you want to call them that, but you don't take time to find out why. Because they didn't just start drinking out of nowhere. That's because you yourself have an issue. God has placed these children in your hand. And no matter if you found God later on in life, and you could go back somehow and grab these kids or these adults and let them know what God can do, that's wonderful. But I'm going to tell you, it's harder then. So when you get these children, instead of dressing them up to look like doll babies, all because you found some guy with good hair and you want a child that has good hair too, these are not toys. These aren't toys. These are souls, and you're going to give an account. I'm talking to the believer just as well as the unbeliever. This is not just for the believer, but for the unbeliever. If you're not willing to raise children and give them some kind of foundation, the foundation has to be God, then you don't need to be having them. I've seen too much hurt and pain when it comes to young people. If you have a mother and a father that prays and believes God, you better thank the Lord. Because I've seen a lot of crazy stuff that's going on. I've seen a lot of kids that don't have no one to talk to. They come and tell you some of the things that is going on because their parents is out partying, trying to be young. Your days are over with. When you have these kids, you have a responsibility. Your child has 5 and 6 dads because you're not responsible. You're out everywhere having all these kids. Men having a bunch of kids, and you're proud because look at all the kids I brought into the world, and you're not taking care of not one of them. This is not the Maury show. Unbelievers, you got to get to know God so you can raise up a child like God wants you to raise it. And I'm not just talking to black people. There's white people. Your children come in town to get high. Oh, yeah, you got a wonderful home in the suburb, but they're in the city getting high. No foundation. Honey, money is not a foundation. A good car or whatever you want to give every time they bark and cry about what they want is not a good foundation. The foundation is in Jesus because all that stuff crumbles. In the city, getting high. It's not about color. It's not about color. I've seen some white drug addicts. I've seen some white people that have problems, white young kids that have issues and problems because mom and dad gets them anything they want, and you got an arsenal in your bedroom and you don't even know about it. You better wake up. The devil doesn't care what color you are. He doesn't care. There's white people with a bunch of children that they can't take care of either. I don't care if you live in a palace. You live in a palace and you let your kids run all over the place because you got money to do so. And I don't care how many rehabs you put them in, unless something takes control of the heart, they'll be right back there again. I've seen it. I've seen it. So this is not a color thing. Nobody is above anything. Your shade of color doesn't make you exempt. Train up a child in the way it should go, and when it is old, it will not depart. A foundation, and the only foundation I have found is in God. Now you might say, I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe it. I don't want my children to hear about it. That's why your children is in the street rolling around in their underwear because they done took something and they look crazy. That's why they're off in the head. That's why they have signs out trying to get money to feed their high. Because you don't believe in nothing. You don't believe in anything but partying. And you have great sorrow because you bought somebody in this world and you haven't built a foundation. Tired of seeing girls dating guys and moving in with guys in their mom and dad's house, and then somewhere down the line somebody goes missing, somebody dies, and you sit there because you're scared. This is a different generation. Oh, that's just what they do. And then months later, you are at the morgue. Young people who are following the Lord, hold on to him. Don't let anyone make you ashamed. Continue to follow him. Continue to sing your songs and give God praise. If you've had parents that have brought you up in the Lord, cherish it. If you have a parent that will tell you the right thing and reprimand you when you're wrong, thank God for it. If you don't get everything you want, but you're out working and trying to better yourself, thank God for it. Thank God that someone has passed down Jesus to you, because everybody doesn't grow up like that. And if in your latter life you have met him, thank God for it, because he can change your life. But there's so many things going on out here. So many issues that young people have that they shouldn't even have. Some of them, they're not even able to have a childhood. I've seen it. They know too much, too early. They can tell you about sex, how to do it, at all kind of positions, and they're only 12 and 11. They don't need sex education in school. They learn it out here on the street. They got parents who don't care, who are drinking. Are you too high? Yeah, you are. You're too high. You can get angry at me, but you're partying too much. You're always out partying, and you're too high, and your mouth is filthy. You call your kids all kind of names. They can't come to you for nothing because you're not an example. You're not an example. And that's why you're running back and forth to the police station. That's why you're burying your kids early, because you were never an example. God gave you something and you can't even take care of what he gave you because you're too busy doing your own thing. And your mom before you and your dad before you did the same thing. You need a foundation. And the foundation is only in God. So that was on my mind and my heart. I get a little angry about it because, I see this stuff. I see it. I see where children need to be loved. And I speak out of experience. You need to be loved. You need to be nurtured. You need to be really loved. You need to know that you're loved. Just because you buy me clothes and give me food doesn't mean that you love me. That's an obligation. But you're really not obligated to love me. You're really not. You can have kids and feed them all you want. That doesn't mean that you love them. That doesn't mean that you love them. Oh, I love you because I'm feeding you, because you got a roof over your head. That doesn't mean anything, because there's a lot of kids that have a roof over their head and you take them through pure hell. You don't care anything about them. You care about yourself. And then when they grow up and they don't have a relationship with you, you wonder why. Because you never showed them love. You never showed them love. You dump your kids off on your grandparents because you don't want to take care of them, and you go off somewhere. And that grandparent has to raise your child because you want to have them, but you don't want to take care of them. That's sad. That's sad. So when your kids curse people out and have a nasty mouth and say all kind of nasty things and go up and down the street with their earphones on, saying all kind of nasty rap, or riding their car with the car radio loud and won't give respect to the older people in the next lane because your nasty, filthy music, you wonder why. You wonder why. It's a sad, sad thing. Oh, yeah, you can call me anything you want. I'm not, up to date. But those same kids up the road is laying down on the ground with a bullet in their head. They had a guy here in the city on top of a car, butt naked. Everybody looking and laughing. What did you take? What was your foundation? What was your foundation? Where's your parents? I heard a guy come out of a house and he was calling this lady all kind of filthy names. I was like, oh my. And she ended up being his mother. And how I found out was her daughter came out and said, you're calling your mom all these names. I don't care. She's no good. It's sad, people. It's sad. And the devil will snuff you out before you hit 21. He'll take you out of here. He's not playing with you. He doesn't care what color you are. He don't care about your aspirations. He'll snuff you out. You take a life and he'll take yours. I'm so sick and tired of riding up and down the street, seeing liquor bottles on corners and people's pictures and teddy bears. Some memorial. And it's so just something that's not even surprising anymore. Because your friends that you ran with, they're placing teddy bears and liquor bottles on a step to give you a memorial. I don't consider it admirable at all. Where are you, parents? Where are you? Where are you? Well, my kid's unruly. I don't feel like bothering. But still, if you know the Lord, you can give him a foundation. See, there's a foundation. That's what's important, is the foundation. I thank God for the foundation that I had. I thank God for it. Now, there's a lot of things I could say being transparent. My father was very rough. And I wish at times that he was a little more loving, but I still had a foundation. People don't want to talk about the real. They want to hide things. They want to make you think that their families were so perfect. No, mine was not. I'm going to tell you that right now. If it wasn't for God, in my life, I would not have made it. But thank God. So parents, when the Lord blesses you with children, when he blesses you with children, whether they were planned or whether it happened, they are a gift. And they become just what you mold them out to be. You have a responsibility to grow up. But you can only do it if you know the Lord. So that's my thought for today. That's what's on my heart for today. Because you never know. I grew up hard, but I knew the Lord. There were things that disturbed me, things about my very life that bothered me. Nobody knows you like God. And sometimes when you don't have anybody to really talk to, you'll go all kind of ways. You go over here and you go over there. You'll be with this person. You hang with that person. It's not all the time healthy, but you'll find someone that you can relate to because you don't have anybody. But thank God I had God that I can go to and talk to. And he helped me make it through some of the darkest moments in my life when family was not there. But my foundation was already built, and I was able to make it through. Think about what I'm saying today, people. Think about it. If you made a mistake through life and you didn't raise your child the way that he or she should have been raised, there's nothing that you can do about it now but pray and ask God to help that child. That child is grown. God, some way, somehow, reached that child. Because I wasn't a good mother or father. But if you have a young child, know what's going on in that child's life. Listen to that child. You may hear things that you might not understand. Our life takes us so many different directions. But that parent who brought that child in the world, who else can that child go to? If you are too busy about you and your ego and what you want and what you don't want, pray and ask God to give you the heart to understand and to raise that child and give that child a foundation. If you want a doll, go to Toys R Us. They got some that'll pee, some that'll eat, some that'll walk, some that'll talk, some that have long hair, some that have short hair. You can dress them up any kind of way you want. You can sit them down and they'll stay there. You can push their bellies and they say, Mama. You can push their bellies and they say, Papa. Get a doll. But don't bring a child in this life and you're not fit to raise it because you're too busy. God bless you. And like I always say, I hope you're not mad at me. And if you are, you'll get over it. Have a great day. Goodbye.